All right, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris, and today I have a very special guest coming on. I have Russ Cohen, who is the co-host of the Stick to Hockey podcast with Jason Martinez. And Russ, I really appreciate you coming on today. How are
Good, Chris. I realized seeing you with your mic, I forgot my fancy mic, but oh well.
you? Yeah, so kind of just to explain a little bit what me and Russ are going to be talking about here. Kind of just to start off, obviously, we do not know right now what the uncertainty of the NHL, and obviously what happened with the news today with the ECHL. There's, the whole North Division getting canceled out and things like that. The uncertainty of the AHL, but there's still things to talk about with prospects and things like that. Some Flyers prospects are playing right now, but we're going to be taking a little bit of a look here at the World Juniors. And just to start off, there are five players that or at least that I have kind of thought of that I at least could make it, and look like that they will make it. So those players for Team USA of Cameron York and Bobby Brink, who both made it on last year's teams. Well, we will, and then after I'll kind of just name them, then we'll kind of go through a dive. And then you also have Tyson Forrester, the Flyers' new first-round pick, Mason Moman, the left-handed defenseman, and then Emil Andre, who the Flyers recently took in the second round of this year's draft. So Russ, just kind of starting off, out of these five guys, is there anybody that kind of really catches your eye to maybe have a really good tournament coming up?
Yeah, I think York's probably the guy that is poised to have the best. It really depends on the role. People can go to sportsology.com. I did an interview with York a couple of weeks ago when he was in evaluation camp, and he pretty much told me that he'll play any role they want him to. So now he even feels confident enough to play a shutdown role.
Right.
If he plays a shutdown role, obviously he's not going to get a lot of points, but he'll be an important guy and would get a lot of minutes. If he's playing a huge offensive role, then obviously he's playing a huge offensive role and he'll get a lot of minutes and get a lot of points. He'll get more glory, though, as the offensive guy. But I can't tell you right now how the coaching staff's going to pick him. It'll be very interesting. I think end of the day, I think they may use him in that shutdown role, and they might go with Sanderson as their power play guy. It's just it'll be interesting to see how that breaks down. But either way, he's an important guy for the U.S. team, and like you said, he's an incumbent, and that's a big deal. So coach likes him, spoke well of him, Nate Lehman, and so I think he's on good footing no matter what.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, I kind of look at his last year's tournament, and he was the youngest defenseman. He was injured kind of going into it as well. He was a little knocked up there, so he didn't get as much minutes, and he was still the second unit power play quarterback. So that kind of shows the talent that he has, and things along those lines. So kind of just looking.
He's gotten bigger too, right? We saw the Instagram picture. I even asked him about the Instagram picture, and he and he laughed about it, but he did say that hey, he wanted to make a point that he had worked out hard and went to Michigan. Went there early, went there to work out, and so that's been a big thing for him. Very important.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing that I've seen in the few games that he's played so far with Michigan, I mean, he had a really good start to the season. He's got 4 points in 2 games so far. Michigan does play tomorrow, Thursday night, and then Friday against Wisconsin.
I do want to say ASU is pretty inferior to them, and Michigan has a super team, so
they do.
He did play well. I can't get crazy about the points though because they were 8-0.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it definitely is to put into perspective because, I mean, it's not, if he was getting a hat trick, it'd be like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of tough to kind of look at it like that. But overall, I think he honestly had 2 really good games, and not just offensive wise, he played very good defensively. His skating really stood out to me in those 2 games. But kind of just to go off of York here. Bobby Brink. I personally looked at Brink last year. I honestly thought he was one of USA's best players last year in the tournament. I thought he was very solid. He's very consistent. He made a lot of smart plays, plays that they don't necessarily get as much recognition. I feel like he had a very solid tournament, just playing the way that he knows he can play. And I feel like he was one of those guys that I believe he had 5 points in the.
Yeah, you're making me look it up. I'm looking it up now.
Yeah, he had just kind of going off he's credited with 2 points. I believe I could have sworn he had a couple more than that. But he did have the 5 games played at a goal and assist.
Yeah,
that's just off of elite prospects. But Russ, just kind of going off of that, what are you expecting from York in this tournament? Or excuse me, Brink.
I think he could play second line in this tournament. I don't think he's going to be top line. Mm-hmm. I think he will be an important guy. He'll be a power play guy. I do think he'll get important minutes. I think the coach knows him from his college play, and I think that helps. I do think he'll get more points this year. Like last time he had 2 points. I could see him being close to a point a game, if not a point a game guy.
Right.
So he's an important guy. The thing about Brink that's really good is he could play with just about anybody.
Right.
And he is a guy that sort of elevates his game depending on who he plays with based on their talent and how they push him. And I think that's an important thing. The thing that I don't like about Brink is sometimes he'll put himself in bad positions, get clobbered, and that's where he gets hurt sometimes. Now, that's not from being dumb. That's just from being sort of, I don't even know if it's aggressive. I don't know if it's aggressive, if it's just more assertive. Mm-hmm. And so that's it's a positive and a negative for him because that's what's kept him out of some games. You don't want to see him get injured for the tournament, but it happens. Like this tournament, it's pretty physical. And the fact that these guys, most of them, except for guys playing in the queue and a few other places, since most of them haven't played, I could see this getting to be a pretty physical series just to get it out, especially the OHL guys, because we don't know if they'll play at that point. But if they don't, if they play after, they may not even be allowed to check in the OHL. So then I think it would be worse in the World Juniors. So
and it's funny you say that because this next guy here, Tyson Forster, he hasn't played yet, as you talked about. The OHL, they were looking at December 4th, and then it ended up getting pushed back to January 1st, like the NHL. But again, just kind of going off of the loaded Team Canada roster here,
it's loaded.
It looks incredible. I mean, you have some really high-end talent here. But kind of just going off these two Flyers guys here, Forster and Millman, what are you expecting from these two here for Team Canada?
I think Forster has the better chance of making it because of the kind of player he is. Now, I think there's a couple of guys that play similar who are a little more talented. Dylan Cousins got a little bit better of a wrist shot, a little bit he's a little bit older, a little bit stronger. I think he's probably gotten stronger this year, although Foster's, could handle himself. Cousins doesn't weigh as much, but I think he knows how to use his body the right way to shield guys. I think those kinds of guys, and I'll say that I think he's on par with, and I just lost it, Sam Poulin. And I think he's more talented than Poulin. So if it came down to those two for the roster, I would choose Forster. I really love Forster's wrist shot. I like the fact that he could score in close or from that with that wrist shot from other spots. He does play with tenacity. Bolduc is definitely a guy who plays with tenacity too, but I don't think he's near the talent scoring wise
as Forster there.
But the problem is Team Canada generally looks at best fits because they're trying to build a team, not necessarily a team of superstars.
Right.
That's the way they've kind of been going. And so when you look at it, you kind of look at it and say, all right, if Forster's going to fit in here, he's probably going to fit in on the fourth line on this team. Like that's probably where if he makes it, that's where he's going to make it. He won't get a ton of minutes. He's a younger guy.
Right.
And I think that's where what we would be looking at. But I do think there's a chance. I really do, because I do think he's better than some of the 01s on here.
Right.
And then there's just some 01s that are ridiculous, like they're just superstars. I mean, Phil Tomasino is a guy that will light up this tournament. Shane Wright will probably make it, and he's an 04.
Right.
So Shane Wright's pretty much a prodigy in and of himself.
Right.
But I don't think he'll be competing with those guys. I think he's going to be competing with the bottom six, what they would look at as a bottom six or as a bottom six backup. And so I think that's his hope. Millman has a tougher job.
Yeah.
Because the defense on this team is
just very good. Yeah.
Spectacular, right? I mean,
just to go off my head, you got Byram and Justin Barron.
Yeah. But I'm not even going to count Barron right now. I'm going to push him aside. Byram, Drysdale, Harley, those are three key guys. Those guys are making the team. Harley pretty much played an NHL game already. So they're all making the team. Gooley probably makes it because of his physicality. And O'Rourke because he could play offense or a shutdown role. So then you look at Millman and you say, all right, I saw Millman play live last year. I did write about it on Sportsology. He plays a really smart offensive game. He's a great power play guy, but he's not going to play the power play with these guys. He's just not.
Right.
Maybe he'll get a few seconds once in a while, but he wouldn't
Yeah.
get. He is better defensively than he used to be, and he's a good puck retriever. So that's the part that could maybe get him on this team. And like Justin Barron, I think he's a smarter player than Justin Barron. Barron may be a little better of a point getter, but if it's an important game or if it's an important moment, I would rather have Millman carrying the puck than Barron. That's just me.
Right.
So I do think he's better than he is. Also, if I look at it, I would say, like, I'm a big Matthew Robertson guy, but he's one of those bigger guys like Harley, so they're probably not competing because I think Robertson's going to make it just like Harley because you got to have some size.
Right.
Those two, Gooley, I think they're all going to make it. Schneider probably makes it because they really do like him, and he is their jack of all trades guy. So if Millman makes it, he's not a starter.
Right.
Like he makes it, he's just hoping to get some playing.
He could be their 7 or 8, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I think you're looking at, and it may not be fair because he is an 0-1, but just the 0-2s are ridiculous. Like
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's kind of the same thing with Forster. I mean, everybody's so good, it's hard.
Drysdale's skating has improved so much even since last year, and I saw him last year, and I thought he was terrific. I interviewed him after the game. I was super pumped to see him. I was very impressed with his knowledge of the game. I was impressed with just the way this guy is just cold stone killer on offense, but also loves playing 5-on-5. Didn't have to be a power play guy. He says that's something that he really likes. All those things impressed me about him. And if he's faster than he was, and he's even better at his decision making, like it takes less time, you can't beat a guy like that. So you have to hope that, and I don't think he can even beat out a guy like Schneider. So, I think the hope is that you could beat out either, like maybe they don't need that extra big guy, so maybe they don't want Robertson, or you could beat out Barron because they realize, all right, yeah, maybe Barron's decision-making isn't what they like. It will depend on what they look like in camp and what their availability is and and basically on injuries, as long as they don't have any injuries. Millman's not going to have a problem with availability because, like you said, with the OHL, so that's easy. And really, they don't have any real issues here. Owen Power was the one guy who maybe could have made the team even as a 17-year-old, but can't go because Michigan didn't want him to go. I get it.
Right.
He's going to miss 51 days of a freshman season. That's a lot of school.
That is.
So end of the day, I think he's 60-40 not going to make it, but I think there's a chance, and there's always a chance for a guy to impress in camp. And I think, like, again, I think if it's, and I don't want to demean reporters, but I think if people are picking teams and their national guys, they may have seen Millman play a little bit in the OHL, but they probably don't really know him as a player. I feel like I know him a little better because I've seen him in camp and I've seen him in games live, and
especially just covering the Flyers too.
Yeah, and I think it's just a couple of different situations. So I think maybe I know him a little better, but it took me a while. Like I didn't know him well when he got drafted.
And that's the thing. Just going off of that, I feel like he's a very underrated Flyers prospect.
Yeah. Oh, he is.
I mean, honestly, like I feel like if you talk about defense, I mean, everybody kind of mentions, Linus Hogberg, Igor Zamula, Cam York, and not many people really mention Millman.
No, but Millman's up there, and he'll sneak up on people eventually.
Right.
Like Donovan Sabrango, I don't think will make it, but he's got a lot of aggression. And so if they want a guy like that, maybe they'll take him, but they have Gooley. So I think you don't have to take too many guys like that. So that's where I think they're going to start breaking it down. And I think Millman will be that guy in the middle where it's like, if we need more offense, we could take him. If we want a little more speed, we could take him. But if we're looking for size or a little more toughness, then we're not going to take him.
Yeah, because the way that you're kind of explaining this, I'm kind of looking at it as like it could be that final decision day where they finally make it and then they ended up taking him. Kind of just going off of the last prospect here, Emil Andre for Team Sweden. Do you think there's any way that Andre could make Team Sweden here?
I think there's a chance. Andre, although he hasn't started off his season great, but you have to look at the team and realize there's a lot of veterans on that team, same on that team, so that's a future teammate. If Sandin's on the Flyers long enough, or Andre makes it in the next 3 or 4 years. But he's not getting power play time there. I doubt it. With only 2 points, I'm sure he's not. And I'm sure he's getting limited ice time. So in a camp like this, he really could impress.
Right.
Because he does have good feet. He is fast. I think his decision making is pretty good. He's not the best defender, but again, they'll have other guys. If they're looking for offense and puck moving, he can do that. So I think there's a chance he can make it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, it kind of wraps it up here. Russ, I really appreciate you coming on. If there's anything that you want to say down below that where everybody can follow you, and I will put links to all that in the description below so you guys can check that out.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Sportsology. I have books out. You can follow me at Amazon.com. I'll give you that link, or you could just DM me on Twitter after you see on Amazon. I have autographed copies. I have like some hardcover copies that maybe people don't know. The latest book is that Sticks and Stones. Actually, Shane Gostisbehere's in it. It's about college hockey. So he's in there, and James Van Riemsdyk is in there. So a couple Flyers right off the hop. Quinn Hughes is in there. Cale Makar, and just
big names.
Some good names. But it just tells you it's not all superstars in here.
Right.
It's just college hockey does set up guys for life, whether they are getting an education or a hockey education. They get both. And a lot of times they put them all to good use, and there's a lot of interesting guys in here. So, me and Adam Woden, we did this. And, you could, again, Amazon or just DM me.
All right. Well, again, Russ, I appreciate you coming on. Remember, guys, podcasts, articles, those links are on my channel. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'll see you guys in the next one, and goodbye.